Guys, we actually have some results this Monday, and it's for WGP 2021. This time, regionals, right? Regionals in Tokyo, which is really big, and Hokkaido, which might not be that big. But yeah, interesting. They've posted it all on the website. This is all from the Bushiro website. Very fast, very fast. They have the top 4 for each region. And there's some interesting developments. Even from VMC, we saw there was a lot of, the standard stuff that we thought would be good. Of course, there are some differences in Japan, and also just some stuff that we don't really expect. So let's kind of get started. We've got first place in Tokyo A block. They had 3 different blocks. We had Ryo-san. This is a very well-known person. Right now you can see his face with a face mask on. He came first, qualifying for nationals. I think only first place makes it to nationals. Gets the nationals invite, because you have to comply with COVID rules as well. So less people at these big events. But yeah, he topped with Plon. I think I've said it quite a few times, Plon is very popular in Japan. The consistency of Plon compared to like Prism, I think Prism is more consistent, but Plon is way more high roll. It goes wide, can just beat any deck when it does well. So taking it to the tournaments in Japan can be a good choice, because you might be facing high quality players where you just need to high roll and destroy them, right? And at the same time, the tournament structure in Japan doesn't really cater to like long rounds. So at the bigger tournaments, you have to qualify to get into this. You're not playing 8 rounds like in BRO or BSFO. So you can kind of get away with running a high risk deck. So I don't know, maybe taking Plon to, if you're thinking of taking Plon to like BRO, keep that in mind. BRO will likely get a lot of players playing and get a lot of rounds, because remember last time V format was the most hyped format in BSFO, right? That had the most number. It hit cap, right? It hit cap, hit over the cap, and then even after people checked in, I think it was still hitting quite high caps. So now that they're extending the caps, it's quite possible that you're going to be playing for a very, very long time in Swiss. So you have to be sure that the deck that you're taking, you're comfortable with it, and it's relatively consistent. So keep that in mind if you're like thinking of taking Plon. But if you just feel good on that day, yeah, it can work. Now the one change really, apart from the Heal Guardians that you can see here, is that I think they added one more Fina and taken out one more Caro, right? Because I think before it was more like a 3-3, but now you put the extra Fina in, you're facing Gavriels, right? This extra Fina will just make your Gavriel matchup better, and you just go wide against other decks with Finas, and there's not much they can do. So that's basically the big change, a 1 card difference, but you're playing the metagame, that's how it is. Second place in the A block, we had your good old gold paladin deck, Spectral here. Spectral just kind of the meta in Japan. People regard it as like the best deck, I guess, in V, along with other things as well. But yeah, this is just showing up and taking second place. Pretty expected. Third place, we got the Gavriel deck. This had a big showing at VMC, came second. Now with the Heal Guardian support and some of the new Clan Collector support, this is basically an exact clone of the VMC deck. No, he's running one more of the PR Angel, so yeah, that's just a one difference, but basically the idea is still the same. And then in fourth place, we have Messiah. This is kind of the weird thing that's been popping up. I don't really know why people are taking Messiah to these tournaments, because you're going to realize this is not just the only one Messiah deck that topped, right? This came fourth place in A block. Yeah, so the only idea that I can come up with this to explain this is that, hey, if you get a Volko out turn 1, you're probably winning that game, right? You're probably winning that game. You make 5 attacks kind of that are relatively big, and that's it. That's it. Also, actually, one thing that just popped up to mind, if you're playing the monks, you can also kind of bind your opponent's cards. So against decks like Plon, where they have really valuable regards, they're committing their hand to the field to make that valuable regard, having huge intercepts from them, then binding it is pretty good, right? You're binding it, you're getting more soul because it's grade 3, and they lose like a 30k intercept. So I can maybe see why Messiah comes there. So the idea, get Volko out early, then bind his good intercept, and you're kind of winning the game, right? So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Then in B block, on first place, we have a Gavriel, right? This is just, again, a pretty standard Gavriel deck that we've been seeing. Actually, just the most standard one that we've been seeing the whole day. But in the second place here, we have Anj Tira, right? Anj Tira. This one's kind of strange. It's got a lot of, actually, it's not even running Ellie, so it doesn't have all the components of an insanely good deck. It's got Spiana, running 1 Spiana. Spiana's actually pretty cool now, because you can bounce the Heal Guardians back, but you can see he's only running two Heal Guardians. So he's not even running the full complement of Heal Guardians. This kind of he came second place with this, right? Came second place. So yeah, pretty cool. Third place we had the good old Shadow Paladin Loire deck. Just works, right? Why change what works? Nice coolbow tech. Like I've just been seeing this one coolbow pop up in a bunch of different decks for this, and he's he's actually running like no knees as well. Just relying on that Brandwin to not get grade stuck. It's kind of funny because now that you have like Heal Guardians, the potential of you getting grade stuck is actually higher with this deck, because you know if you draw like you have more ways to get screwed. Right? That's it. If you really want Drag Heart, but you know getting a Drag Driver means bad times. Getting a Heal Guardian also means really bad times too. So yeah, that's kind of a bit of a suck, right? A bit of a suck. This is powered by Liz, which is also a well-known player, but unfortunately he came third place. And yeah, that's not great, right? And then in fourth place, we had another Gabriel deck. So Gabriel, you know, looks like it's been doing very well at these tournaments, and pretty crazy, right? Then in C block, we have Messiah. Right? So again, like I said before, that's why I think it's doing well. But do keep in mind that yeah, they separated into like 3 different blocks for Tokyo. Swiss doesn't last long. I think for C block it was actually just 3 rounds, because you know you have to qualify, and then they separate you. And I think you basically have to go undefeated to get top 4, right? They have smaller tournaments in these qualifiers. So yeah, but it's Messiah. So Messiah somehow doing well, right? And somehow making a resurgence. It's been pretty crazy. We can look at this picture, right? Look at him. He's so happy. It's got the victory sign. That's what happens when you get Messiah, right? Then in second place we have the Plon again, right? Probably again the matchup versus Messiah. Maybe it's favored for Messiah, right? And then in third place of Kagero. So really haven't seen this Kagero much, but this guy's won like full crazy mode. He's running Stricken, right? Remember old school Kagero where you run like the end over Stricken? This was like the tech way back in BTO 5, and you're like, oh hey, crit Kagero. Hey, now you have Force 2 the cross with Stricken, 3 crit. This is like premium levels of play, and yeah, that's a lot more high roll. We haven't really gained third place unfortunately, but it's kind of an interesting tech, right? Going full all in. And then in fourth place we have Narukami. So we haven't seen, this is from Happy. He must be pretty happy. He's playing Vanquisher, right? We haven't really seen much Vanquisher recently. Well, we've seen it, but they've all been playing the book build. But you know, in this tournament so far, this is the first Narukami you've actually seen, and yeah, just book Vanquisher does pretty well. Now let's move on to Hokkaido. Now Hokkaido is where the spice begins. I mean, you've been seeing some spice before, but look, we've got a Gold Paladin deck. Just not the Gold Paladin deck that you've been seeing recently. It is actually Agravain. Now, let's kind of think about this, right? Agravain. What is Agravain good for? If you say absolutely nothing, it's a pretty good song, but Agravain is actually pretty good for something. It is probably the most aggressive Gold Paladin deck out there, right? Sure, Spectral can restand the Vanguard, but Agravain, with the correct amount of Counterblast, right, and with like Aglavale and Percival now, bam, you can make, yeah, five front rows available to you, and then you can slam and jam, right? That's pretty much it. What decks are pretty good to just slam on? You know what? Gabriel's pretty good at slamming, right? If they give you damage, slam them. If they don't give you damage, just don't slam them. Just wait, right? Because at some point they'll need to like hammer you, and guess what? If they go first, they hammer you. Oh, Heal Guardian minus crit, right? You take damage and then you slam them. And like, although this deck does, you know, commit a field, right? It does so very deceptively, right? Because you actually get a bunch of free calls using Soul, right? Your Chevalier gets a free call, Percival calls an Aglavale. Guess what? That Aglavale goes to hand to add to your hand count, as well as just slamming your opponent for 24k. 24k. And then, you know, things, they're taking in Edmund here, which on attack can bounce back to hand as well. It's a 10k shield, so deceptively you have quite a good amount of hand. So you can probably tank a few attacks. So it's actually not as bad, as well as just laying on the smackdown, right? Laying on the smack. If you go first with this against someone, you can just like demolish them. Sure, they can Heal Guardian, get 10k, but you can actually hit over them with a bunch of powers too. So it's a it's actually, it might not be too bad. You might not be too bad. Now, you might say, okay, Hokkaido has no plays. This is probably just like a one-off. No, this is actually not a one-off, right? In 2021 for WGP, we've had 2 other showings of this Aggravating deck, right? So one in September and one in August for different WGPs. So this, I think this is, there was another one that came first, I think, but you know, the other play came third, but this guy came first. Like, we have to see him. Look at this. He's got the, you know, he's got the jumper on. He's feeling pretty chatty, right? You know, that one certificate in each hand. You know, that's how you do it, right? No victory sign, just winning. But let's look at the other Aggravating decks, and they're kind of pretty similar, right? You know, you're playing Percival because it's the best card. Again, the Edmund tech. This guy went pretty crazy. He went Max Slash because he wants to just abuse those Agglevales. Just keep on pumping. He's also running the Eagle, right? The Eagle's getting a bunch of power. Also Wonder Wrestle. So he's got a way more crazy mode aggro because he's not running any heals. Now, I think this was played in, I think this might be played in August, where you don't get Heal Guardians. So, right, screw the heals. Just go face. But he'd actually come first place in Aichi Prefecture, so he did work, right? He went full man mode, right? But then there was another top here as well. This was, I think this is in September. He came 4th place at, I think, is it Shizuoka, right? So yeah, he did go full man mode. Well, not full man mode, not as man mode as the other guy, because he just got Heal Guardians, but I mean, Heal Guardians is pretty good. Right, just saying. But you know, he still has the Max Slash, he has the Eagle as well. The Tokyo guy actually wasn't going this aggressive. But you know, looks like here you can go aggressive, but still run Heal Guardian. So it's really up to you. The deck seems to do pretty well, right? Especially against the metagame. Like, think about your matchups, right? You're against I talked about Gabriel, right? Protect, just slam him, bash him, hope for the best. You know, if they give you damage, you win. But think about like against Melody. Can bash all their grade 3s with just like, you know, low power units, and if they let it go, sure, right, they have to guard their Melody units, but you can just go again and still get more attacks, and then it's pretty good for you, right? If they intercept against you, you're basically trading attacks for good value cards, right? And then against things like what, Luard, you're never gonna outgrind them, right? So you just have to beat them really quickly. So again, it's back to that idea of like, what do you do against these very strong decks in the metagame currently? Just beat them down, just bash them. Who cares, right? Just play your game, right? So pretty interesting. I actually do want to try out this Aggravating deck, because you know, I actually like Aggravating. Aggravating's pretty fun, right? Back then, you know, just going first with Aggravating, just and they're dead. So now with the new tools, you can only imagine how crazy things have gotten, right? Anyway, let's move on to the rest of Hokkaido. Hokkaido is 2nd place. We had another Plon deck here. Nothing really special. It's Plon, it just does job, right? Does job, does good, right? Good stuff. And then 3rd place, we have your good old Luard deck again. This guy's running 2 cool balanced instead of just 1, because he wants to be, I guess, extra cool, right? But, you know, he had to sacrifice some, I guess, a grade 2 slot. Or actually, he's just sacrificing grade 1 slots, it seems. He's only running like 1 Nightmare Painter as well. So yeah, okay, it's a bit risky, but that's just how it is. And then in 4th place, we had a Thavis. Right, and this is the perfect time for me to say, why haven't we gotten Pursuit Assault yet, right? If we had Pursuit Assault, guess what? You know, Lambros, Thavis, pretty good deck, but because we don't, you know, unlucky. So yeah, that is pretty much the results for this weekend. The interesting ones are definitely the Messiah and the Aggravating, right? So I guess give them a try. Give them a try. They seem like pretty cool. Old decks getting good again. Maybe there's something there that we've missed. So yeah, give that a try. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, bye.